Hello everybody. Today's video, I'm gonna be making a video that is critical of Wuwa's power creep. Now, I've made videos like these over and over again for the other games. My most recent video ranking power creep among these games literally put HSR in like the worst spot possible, because it's just undebatable that it's the worst among like Genshin, ZZZ, and Wuwa, right? And for some reason, the Wuwa tards who stalk every single post I make about Wuwa to simply hate on my opinions blindly, they don't understand. They don't acknowledge the reality that this game is. And so I'm making this video to kind of cover this, right? So I made a post saying that nobody in Wuwa is a must pull, right? And the reason for this take is that a majority of guide CCs in this space will just lie to their casual audiences that are more uninformed that Chisa is the next shorekeeper, Linnae is a must pull, Mornai is a must pull, Carlotta is a must pull DPS, Phoebe is a must pull sub DPS, Yuno is a must pull sub DPS. They have been spamming must pull to their casual audiences who are uninformed this entire fucking time, and it's literally just propaganda to make the company more money at this point, because I refuse to believe that they are genuinely this slow when it comes to evaluating character value and also taking the future into account, right? So I just expressed my annoyance with this because, well, it's still completely fine to go for different characters who aren't so-called must-pulls, and especially if you already have like a few building blocks, like let's say you have Cartethia but no Chacona, or Chacona no Cartethia, then you could pull like either or, and now you have a way stronger team. Now, would most people recommend this now that we're in version 3? Probably not. However, who cares, right? Cartethia is still an amazing pull. She has amazing sequence investment. I'd go for it. The exact same thing applies to Prolova, applies to Yuno, applies to, Galbraina, right? If you already have a few building blocks here and there, it might genuinely just be better for you, because not only do you get more enjoyment since it's a character you actually like, instead of forcing yourself to pull for meta, but you also save yourself more pulls because you already own this character, as compared to investing into an entirely new team, right? It isn't really a secret at this point that Linnae has completely power crept the sub DPS category that we currently have in terms of value, and Mornai soon is going to be the only other third slot in the game that can be semi-competitive with SK outside of in like generalist teams, right? Like you can slot them in anywhere, and she also has better vertical investment, to be honest, with her S1 allowing her to give 40% more damage bonus to basically any general team, right? Because if you're in a Tomb Break team, you don't really care about the S1 as it's always activated there, but if you don't have Linnae and Mornai together, then you're going to need her S1 to actually activate this extra 40% damage bonus, and then this puts her on SK level, if not higher, because she also increases the rate at which you're able to Tomb Break enemies, right? So I'm literally advocating for investing into some older characters and not always pulling for meta, yet these people are getting mad at me because this, admission includes acknowledging that power creep in this game actually exists. Like, just admit it, man. Like, this isn't a Wuwa specific thing. There's so many other gachas with power creep, much worse than Wuwa, including HSR, right? Like, this is something everybody is basically aware of. I don't understand why this game's fan base is so fucking defensive of this shit. It's just an actual truth, man, right? Run it with me. We went from Gion being the strongest DPS to then it was like Jinshi, literally the next patch. I believe Jinshi was 1.1, Sentinel Resonator, right? Then it's probably Camellia, like 3 patches later in 1.4, Camellia ends up being stronger than Jinshi, and then she can also achieve this performance specifically with Sanhua, which is completely free, which is really nice, because this means you can put your pulls into different investment, right? However, after this, 1 patch later, everybody in 1.x gets noticeably power crept, especially for the average player, because of how easy she is to play, by Carlotta, right? Carlotta is called this must-pull DPS, this must-pull character. Keep in mind, people said the same thing about Jin Shi, said the same thing about Jian, they said the same thing about Yin Lin, right? They call everybody a fucking must-pull in the CC space, right? So Carlotta is doing like 1.6 million damage per rotation. Incredibly fucking solid performance. That's what you like to see from the strongest DPS of the new version, right? She went from top 1 DPS to not even being in the top 5. She's not even in the goddamn top 7 of DPSs. Okay, we are in 3.0. She was 2.0. Only one version ago, 1 year ago, did Carlotta come out, and she's now nearing getting kicked into the top 10. Like, it is that bad. And you guys may think I'm over-exaggerating, but no, I'm literally not. Brant Hyper with Lupa Mornai is going to be stronger than Carlotta. Hyper with Linne is on the same level as Augusta. Augusta herself, main DPS. Prolova, main DPS. Zanny, main DPS. Cartethia, main DPS. Galbrena, main DPS. Every single one of those 7 teams are stronger than Carlotta's and also have significantly better sequence investment because, no offense, Carlotta's sequences are quite underwhelming if you compare them to some of these DPSs and sub-DPSs that I've mentioned here, right? So Carlotta value-wise is genuinely significantly worse than a majority of these characters unless you really suck at playing Brant, right? Like the only team you can say I'm maybe stretching out the value on is Brant's because that requires a double anchor rotation, which still isn't even that difficult to learn, but I'd understand if maybe you're an average player, okay? Maybe Carlotta's 7th, top DPS instead of 8th. Wow, what a difference maker. Right, so that's just the DPS category. Let's just talk about the sub-DPSs as well. Everybody is aware that a majority of the 2.x sub-DPSs are either just much stronger in the teams they're made for, or have significantly better versatility as compared to the 1.x sub-DPSs like Yin Lin and Zeshi. Right? Most people agree they are incredibly fucking underwhelming as compared to the 2.x ones, and especially Lupa is showing really, really good value. I'd say one of the best value, if not the best, from the entirety of these 2.x sub DPSs slash support characters. Right? However, now Linne makes all of these 2.x sub DPSs look shit in comparison, right? Like, I'm not even gonna pull my punches. She makes them all look completely shit because it's the new version, right? It's the newest character. So now Linne has all this power put into her kit and even her sequences, with her S2 being a general damage amp as compared to a lot of these sub DPSs having niche damage bonus or niche amp. She also enables Tune Rupture, which does like an extra 100k tick every time you tune break, which will become even stronger with Mornai. I don't really need to go much further into explaining why Linne is as strong as she is. However, Linne is at the very beginning of the new version, and the pattern you'll recognize from everything I've said is that 90% of the time, as a version goes on, we only get stronger and more value units as compared to at the beginning of a new version, right? Which obviously implies, even though Linne and Mornai look must pull, right? They're the face of the meta currently. That's not going to be the case the further we go into this version. Meaning, if you have any, little bit of foresight and pattern recognition, you'd be able to instantly acknowledge, oh, this means they aren't actually must pulls. They're really good value. However, they're not must pulls. There's going to be multiple teams that don't focus on using these characters. Who knows? It might be a just 3.x sub DPS thing that Kuro decides to do by making every new sub DPS have some level of general buffs to be significantly better value and more appealing to the player base to pull on as compared to the older sub DPSs who, we all know it, are incredibly niche in many cases, right? Now, The argument some people have used against me is that Lene is general and she buffs older teams, so they don't see the problem with it. Yet these same people don't consider the obvious fact that Toonbreak doesn't have its main DPS in the game released yet, right? Yuno is genuinely Augusta hypercarry level as a fucking sub DPS with Lene and Mornai, right? Just let that sink in. That's a 2.x sub DPS. What do you think a 3.x main DPS's best in slot team is going to be able to accomplish in the place of Yuno, right? They are likely going to push the ceiling of power that is currently held, at least for most average player rotations, by Cartethia Premium. Okay? Understand this. And right now, Cartethia Premium versus Carlotta Premium is about 30% stronger, with sequence investment and investment into teammates being pretty much twice as valuable as compared to as it is for Carlotta, right? So these 3.x DPSs are probably going to come kicking with a punch. Now, the first main DPS we should get, I don't think is going to be this Toonbreak one. It is already leaked, the 3.1 TOAs in Wuwa, that we are going to be getting a negative status fusion burst DPS in the next patch, which a lot of Chisa mains are probably going to be looking forward to. They've really been waiting for a DPS for her to be noticeably best in slot in, right? However, my point is, right, no one is a must pull in this game, and you can pull so-called non-must pull characters and even older characters and keep investing into them, and they will still be able to clear incredibly well, right? It's always better to prioritize your enjoyment in these games as compared to constantly going for the newest thing CCs call meta. Even if I myself am one of these creators, you will notice I have an S6 QU1. Do you understand just how much value I've lost on my pulls by going into S6 QU1 instead of waiting one patch for Lene? Like, it's astronomical, the fumble. But QU1 is the most fun character I've used in the entirety of the game, and he's a big reason why I still play this game and have the enjoyment I do for it, right? So do I regret going for his S6? Absolutely not, right? I simply hate the buzzword being spammed of must pull on so many videos and it being so misleading for the average player, and so they sacrifice their fun for meta and then realize, hey, I could have easily skipped this character and gone for a team of characters I actually liked, gotten probably similar performance because they're basically in the same version or close to each other, but it just would have been way more fucking enjoyable for me and more fun, right? People need to stop spamming must pull under everything. And at the same time, people in this community need to accept that this game has power creep and it's not something unique to it. It is completely fine to accept the fucking reality. Okay? Every single new version introduces significant power creep as compared to the older version, with there only usually being a few exceptions, a few select characters from an older version still being semi-meta or meta in the newer version, right? Like Chang Li because of Mono Fusion, or Jian basically getting wheelchaired by Chacona Yuno. These are one of the very specific few cases. There are many other games that have specific few cases of things similar to this as well, with like Acheron being buffed by Cypher and being buffed by Hyacine being able to inflict debuffs, right? Or most 2.x characters getting noticeably buffed by Tribi and all this shit. The same argument people are using for saying there's no power creep because Lene buffs older teams is the same argument people could use in HSR of, oh, my Acheron using Tribi, Hyacine, and Cypher, all 3.x supports, is keeping up with the current meta teams and being able to clear endgame content. Yay! Congratulations! That means there's no power creep in the game. Yeah, right! There's fucking power creep galore in HSR, okay? Pulling new supports for older teams doesn't mean power creep doesn't exist. You are literally wheelchairing your older character to be able to clear. That's all that's going on, okay? Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. And remember, there are no must pulls. Just pull for whoever the fuck you like. And peace out.